The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass was the final game I played before I got child jailed, aka dragged off by Child Protective Services because my childhood home was deemed unsafe. I was playing it there in my cell room on day one when the head lady came in to greet me, who upon seeing me do this said something along the lines of, "Oh dear, you're not supposed to have that here." After which they put my DS with spirit tracks in it under lock, code, and key in a safe. And that's how that playthrough ended. Many such cases and many such games very much tied into this event for me due to parallels like KH2 or Bully, but none quite so viscerally as Phantom Hourglass, and that's because handheld games, they come with you in these experiences. I still have that copy. I still have that DS. I still have that exact save exactly where I last saved it before I got abruptly cut off from it. My autistic child hand scribbling still on map. A moment frozen in time. On that bed, in that room, and in that safe. I also still have my childhood PSP that just as morbidly I received as a child jail going away gift. We didn't have shit and or fuck though, so not only was it secondhand, it also only came with Wipeout. Not that that would stop me though from being filled with ambition for it. You see, I wanted that goddamn camera attachment to make my own movies. I wanted to create music and put it on there. I wanted to be on UNDEAD just like the films and albums that were sold on it were. Basically, the multimedia aspect lit my little kid heart ablaze with possibility, and also, I wanted DAXTER so fucking desperately. Like, goddamn, I love Jackson 1, but this looked so much more colorful and like an actual real game with real graphics. Like, wow, I want DAXTER, 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 DAXTER. But all I had was Wipeout. Aww. For the few weeks of summer vacay, that's all I could play, after which, like my DS, it was also taken from me. Now, my relationship to my PSP would greatly flourish a bit later as I also started using my DS as an MP3 player, which was really fun and cool and multimedia-y all the same, but before all that, I'd have to keep busy with Wipeout. Introduced me to some cool music, it did. Although I'd be lying if I said that I was any good at it either. And instead of keeping at it to get good like any normal kid would have done, I would spend most of my time poking around the menus. Because I mean, I got a real kick out of how these looked. That futuristic blueprint aesthetic with what seemed like data pouring onto the screen and wireframe outlines of designs, barcodes and bars and meters with bleeps and bloops. The specific way in which individual UI elements would load in individually inspired a lot of what I do today in my own animated graphics for vids. One could also set the menus to hacker mode so they'd become all dark and edgy, which of course I did very much at the time. And stylistically, overall, I'd argue that it sits in such a perfect synergy with the PSP's own visual vibe and futuristic feel, and graphically during the races, it's an impeccable graphical showcase as well. In that sense, Wipeout Pure really was a perfect launch game, no less because within those titular menus, it would hide a list of demos, and it would be here where we would find our very first feature game. As a demo, of course, just a single level of open map vehicular combat carnage, Half-Life 2-ass color coding, and a cloudy war-torn smog fog fogging up the distant skyscrapers. It's a mood, a vibe. One that I never saw beyond just this or really ever seen brought up anywhere since then either. This is likely because Fired Up is a PAL-only release, and PAL-only games, unless they become stream memes, really just do not exist to the American-speaking world as far as game content goes. Me, however, I'm holic, so I can happily yap on about the Tony Hawk X Elden GTA-like mission design, boasting a big map with objectives, collectible tokens, blastable enemies, and activatable set pieces and missions. No music or nothing, neither, just cold, cozy, comforting destruction with your oddly shiny car. Cute to explore map, too. Granted, I'm speaking from the point of view of something who didn't have nothing else to play, which drastically changes one's relation to things, but even playing it now, years removed, memories faded, I still appreciate the landmarking and layoutering. There's a sports stadium, a gov building, plethyroids of things to climb and big epic jumps with rooftops to top on top of. It's got canals and a train station, and witnessing the we stand within, I can't help but notice how wide and big everything is. Like these cavernous open spaces designed for big car warfare, but not streets with street view realism. It's elegiac, liminal, cute. Damn bitch, you live like this. Also, goddamn, shout out the sheer destruction too. The way the enemy cars get flung all over the place, how big and heavy the explosions is all pretty potent if you ask me. And with the handling being as fast and swervy as it be, it reminds me a lot of a more violent Rocket League. Legit, I find it rather harmonious in how simple yet effectively fun it is just to mindlessly plow around. Great demo. So far as the full game goes, I suppose it pretty much just carries on in exactly this way. Hell, there's stuff I thought would have been hella demo placeholdery that isn't, like the lack of voice acting, for example, or the story just being text dumps at the start of levels. They did add music to everything, and it's very sort of like spy movie music, which might seem odd in a vehicular combat game until you actually play it and might end up feeling as though it's not even really actually about that at all. Yes, you control a car with a gun, and there's random enemies who also have cars with guns, but that's about where that ends. As they are just cannon fodder, GTA NPCs, but a bit more violent, but not at all the main thing of doing. Whether it be in the crust mountains looking like Battlefield 2 on its lowest settings, or the big American city that is automatically better than any real American city due to it having citywide public transit in the form of a monorail, you will mostly be focused on delivering things, picking up things, collecting things, escorting folks, defending convos, doing little turret sections, tailing shits, parkouring, driving, platforming, and racing against timers. And in that, I love how the different levels facilitate different ways of plays. For instance, the Battlefield 2 map has a big industrial zone with giant rows of pipes to cruise along, making for this interlinking network of rooftops. This offset on the very same map with the wide, winding mountain roads that are so much fun to blast across at full speeds. It's really cool. Less cool was still taking damage and dying during a cutscene. And maybe this is me just being way too vertical slice demo pilled, but I honestly feel like the full levels go on a bit too long as well. To be fair, this is an arcade game. The text scroll story, the just gameplay, it's an arcadey handheld game through and through, and that was pretty rare on PSP. As so many PSP releases were honestly just console games better suited to the big screen than they ever were portable releases considerate of being played in shorter bursts or on the go. And Fired Up lets you save, quit, and back out at any point wherever, so most likely the level length grating on me a tad is due to me playing it as big screen primary entertainment when it wasn't ever meant to be. Either way though, it's a really fun and adorable little action game. It's made by London Studio, after all, who do the iToy and SingStar titles, so it would stand to reason that they'd know their way about something like this just as well.
Cease your suffering and restore balance to the land.
What is that thing?
Holy motherfucking shit. Banned back in its day for lack of decorum, vulgar language not in accordance with its fantasy setting, and its brutal heavy metal soundtrack, it's Undead Knights, baby! A game that says, what if the MGS3 Nightmare and Castlevania merged to become a real game that turned Crucifix's crux of play, of which revolves around slashing enemies up until they turn red upon one can grab them to turn them into undead, thus slowly creating venerable zombie hordes as you gore slash rip and tear your way through masses of knights and soldiers. Rage, anger, viscera, and cock-pumping, hardcore, violent action are the name of the game. Like holding R to aim and sick your army of death and blood onto motherfuckers, turning them into fountains of guts. And with bigger enemies, the player can even toss zombies at them so that they may climb onto, eating them alive as if beset by a horde of flesh-eating insects. All of which is set to this incredible motherfucking background music. As someone who just earlier this year, very recently in October, started getting into Morbid Angel, The Misfits, and 80s Black Sabbath, this hit like a goddamn brick. Like, dang. Ooh, that title screen music song alone, like, it's such an impression to give right away. This is probably much better music to talk over, though. Anyway, Undead Knights is a rather simple game. The player gets points to unlock moves, but only square and triangle will be used for sword slashes, so it's not like it'll bail out much. X jumps and circle grabs, like this ain't DMC or nothing, but just as well, I do not want it to be either. Thing is, meat-headed gameplay for this meaty, gory game seems plenty perfectly fitting for as far as I'm concerned. Could have done with a lock-on button, maybe, but that I'm not sure where on the PSP you'd even put that. Suppose select just hides the minimap, so maybe that could have been a clutch option, or perhaps the N64ian camera centering shoulder button could have doubled as such as much. Who knows? All the tech, in any case, I guess comes from the zombie stuff, aka the way the horde affects gameplay. You see, enemies struggling with zombies will take more damage, and the horde is also fickle. These are corpses after all, so you slashing about will likely dismember your boys to bits as well, so you kinda need to constantly stay soul-sucking and corpse-converting to stay on top of things. Level design-wise, it's a very linear action game as well, and as much as it'll provide zombieable obstacles like doors to bum rush and open, it'll also lock you off from the pack with how the level moves and changes around you with scene transitions and the like. Although, with that stated, the game is so edged that shit what normally is obstacles will instead be turned into mere avenues of dumb fun gornage. Like, say, swinging axes? Don't bother timing your navigation, just like, I don't know, get your zombuddies to clog up the machinations. A jumpable gap, bridge of corpses, of courses, spiky barrels of doom rolling downhill. Simply send in the horde to cannon fodder of gore its way on through. It is so much fucking fun. As someone who loves Resident Evil games on the easiest modes, or titles like Bullet Witch with her big fat gun shoots of citywide destruction, or EDF for DMC or Gungrave or One Chanbara Z2 Chaos, this is honestly the perfect action game for me. A Muso wherein the player makes the horde themselves. Fuck a power fantasy. Bitch, this is a power nightmare. And in that, it might be a little unrelenting, perhaps. It's got downtime in the form of cutscenes, I guess, but the gameplay is always 100% cock pump. It will not let down from beginning to end. I would hesitate to call it repetitive though, if only because the pacing is so solid level to level and within, gradually telling you about new mechanics like how one can pick up zomboids and create gore explosions by sacrificing them, or how to have FPS crippling devil trigger mode shit. And also new enemy types will keep happening that might not result in different undeads upon turns, but did make me consider how I was navigating the carnage. Like, it's not mindless exactly. The minute-to-minute wasn't ever boring to me, as dumb as it be. It is made with considerations in mind that a more technical action game would have. Doing shit like how turning enemies that turn red as opposed to otherwise will also give the player a wee health boost akin to Revengeance's spinal cord rips. And with that, health in general is a thing to stay mindful of. Again, the horde is fickle and you don't want to be caught lacking all alone, so managing zombifications while also dodging and murdering and trying to keep your zombies directed, being that they are mindless, is defo some tact for a fact. Whether it be knowing to prioritize the archers in towers and bringing them down first, or sticking your hordes to deal with the big knights while you go off converting the little guys, I kept finding these pockets of awareness within the chaos. These laser-focusing moments forcing me to tame and direct the chaos, which I find a very engaging dynamic that absolutely kept me on edge and seated. And besides, you can always create your own quiet time by simply stopping to smell the roses. Or, well, ornate tableware in this case. Legit though, Undead Knights does look fucking nice. I like this world of piss, blood, and squalor, boasting a texture quality and filtering akin to those hecked up medieval paintings full of bloodshed and misery with a color palette to boot. Also, the story is just like about the House of Blood was this kingdom or whatever that got brutally killed on a night called the Marriage of Blood, which is fucking hard. But now they've been brought back as undead, ready to revenge kill, and so that's who we control. It's really blunt and dumb and stupid, but it suits the game to a T, really.
If I fall, will you cease your mad crusade?
Yeah, no. I'm here to fuck up everything. Fatima.
Yeah, amazing game. Perfect voice acting and writing, and I fucking loved playing it all the goddamn way. Wouldn't change a thing. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure last time when I talked about child jail-related gaming trauma was back when I discussed Dead or Alive Booby Ball for the Xbox 360 and how that somehow was the only game that they had there by the living room TV that we could play. So it really would have been extra torturous if my meager PSP library at the time had included Dead or Alive Paradise. A genuinely rather impressive port of Extreme Beach Volleyball 2, like, for real, it's kind of wild how they stuck not a PS2 but a 7th gen game on here so faithfully. Though it would be a converted PS2 game that I did spend the most time with on PSP. Type wasn't the only child jailed that brought one, so on the rare days where we were allowed to take him out of safe, we'd play Tekken 5 Dark Resurrection against each other. A lot of fun memories were made, and I mean, this game looks fucking amazing too. I also fell in love with Portable Ops, Crisis Core, Birth by Sleep, Vice City Stories, and Dissidia. The latter I even have a whole funny version of with an art booklet and stuff. Like, dang, Nomura is very quiet but powerful. Though I'd still never own DAXTER. Even during my time YouTubing, I never once suckled upon its nurturing teat due to recording PSP stuff being a pain in the ass, and as much as I appreciate PPSSPP the emulator, it is far from perfect. So I've barely touched PSP shits for vids, with it only now becoming easy to access having finally acquired one of these. Though even then, there's the additional struggle of finding a type of video that it would fit. Like, it's not particularly mysterious or Japan only, it's just a pretty cool looking PSP game. I did, however, while making this, have two lists of would-be candidates, aka games that'd be interesting for video reasons, and games I'd actually just really wanted to play though. As what I think makes good video and what I think would be fun for me don't always have to align, but yeah, I don't know. fuck y'all, I guess. Like, I still, even now, feel the same exact way that I did all those many years ago as a child seeing these screenshots. It's just so colorful and vibrant. Daxter looks so big and primary, the levels so varied, the graphics so genuinely on par with PS2 games but wider and bigger and maybe even more betterer if only because the large everything. It just speaks to me. The same way a game can inspire intrigue within me due to its mysterious status, this title too has always eluded me. So for me, personally, it is mysterious. Because I want to know. Fuck around and find out what the heck was up with Daxter. Gaxter, I guess. To be honest though, there is one thing I very much find of curious interest that surrounds the game, and that is its fascinating sandwichness of place between the changing of trends, being that the 90s scrimblows were out and 2000s edge was rapidly becoming in. And much like, say, a musical parallel like hair metal and new wave to grunge and industrial, with tons of bands from the 80s suddenly ditching their crazy hairstyles and colors, trying desperately to adapt, thus resulting in all manner of fascinating musical anomalies. The 90s critters like Spyro or Crash were also trying to adapt to a gaming landscape that would soon include the likes of Manhunt and Dirge of Cerberus. And the Jak series is where that hit the most blatant, I find, being that Jackson 1 was just another 90s styles colorful scrimblow with attitude, but oh god, Jak 2! The rage, the gray, the its sister series, Ratchet & Clank, being gun-based, was already more geared towards the changing tide, but this very traditional 3D platformer in the veins of Rare's, Croc's, and Spyro's really obviously rapidly shifted course. And I find that so fun and fascinating to behold, this real crystallization of culture. And Daxter in this is a very funny one, as while it dropped well after Jak 3 even, it is on a handheld and thus cheaper to make and a bit less trend-pressured, and does also take place between Jak 1 and 2. If you don't know, Jak 1's story is just collecting the eggs, and then in 2 he gets like dimension sucked, captured, and tortured for a few years, and then the game begins post-torture with Edge Jak. But Daxter happens during the torture, so what better avenue for a cute, colorful little game? And goddamn, look at this being exactly that. In that it is fascinating how it does actually take place within the gray shit and piss realm of Jak 2, as at times it looks nothing like it. Even when in the city proper, the fact that we're playing as a small little guy makes how the world is seen very different already. Not flying around up high looking down from and by the cars, but instead crawling around between the floorboards looking up at the bright sunny sky. Thing is, our boy gets hired to do some bug extermination, and so Daxter will be slithering his way into all the places Jak can't and won't go. Like a hotel level, a boardwalks level, a sewer subway level, a boat level, a mine level, or even an ice level where they bring back the scary fish. Shitting from all cylinders. Going about this with immensely cool atmosphere and pacing. I mean, we start with the hotel, only it's both a botanical garden and a spooky mansion-y sort of setting in one. The big, opulent lobby, the imposing, dark, dimly lit hall that leads to an elevator sequence with the trademark typical music. To then exit into the rooftop garden where there is no music and only the sounds of nature. Wow, that's really cinematic somehow. The music doesn't kick in until we slide down a pipe and end up in this fusion of a sewer level of sorts and the aforementioned spooky hotel level. Sneaking into rooms, jumping onto beds, crawling through vents and smashing fancy dinner tables, it's all really very playful. Which is a pace it keeps going, as you'll be going outside with skies blue and cars flying as one heads into an apartment building. Up the narrow stairs, down the hall, onto a maintenance elevator, only to then exit into an orange, deserty, dusty construction site outside of the walls of the city, slattered, laden, and coated in girders, scaffolding, sand, and the sounds of hammering and drilling filling the audioscape. And that feels so surreal, yet super fucking immersive to me. There's no loading screens, no warp gates, no level selects, merely this cool urban back alley bungling getting into all manner of colorful adventures. Blessed be the portion where the rat goes down the almost medieval castle-like stairs behind the fucking bar of the bar only to end up in the creepy crypt wine cellar beneath it all to dig through cobwebs. I also love that we get to enter the sewage and subway systems with their beautifully graffitied covered blue and orange tiled tunnels where before you know it you're hopping fucking riding trains Mirror's Edge style. Like, holy shit, this is such urban fantasy. Though my favorite area is probably the lumberjack level. It's autumnal. There's boardwalks and swamps. It's crazy vibrant with its nice color choices and super animated with all the wee particle leaves leaf twirling on by. That really makes a girl want to go. Either way, it's all really cute because it is, again, such a wholly different way of engaging with this world than what the main games provide. Not even just because of the smaller POV neither, but also because it's a very different type of platformer. Handling more like how a Rayman or Spyro game would, being a tad slower paced with the raw collecting and runny jumping somewhat de-emphasized. Still very fun though, honestly quite creative if anything, using the combat mechanics like the bug spray as a rocket engine all the same, and chain linking interesting level design isms with the fire boosties and hover timings and fuel replenishers and so on. It honestly does a lot with the context of what you do that way in general. Like for instance, timed crawling across a live generator to avoid heatwave waves, or using the prone lock-on jumpy thing used for certain narrow cylindrical surfaces to set you on a Frogger Hugo log segment. Or the before-mentioned train hopping, or really fun wee set pieces like the strip mine level, which is a big interconnected puzzle of cog spinny machines one has to activate to make further platforming progress possible elsewhere, and even shit like the oil tanker area with swaying lifeboats, swinging crates, and Daxter flying through the air bouncing off a suspended sailcloth as the whole ship rocks back and forth is super duper creative contextually. A lot of cute minigames as well, with pressure valving and sonic railing and blasting down mines on a hover vehicle while trying to escape a train, also reusing said vehicle to do the vehicle stuff from 1 again. And our main man even gets Matrix nightmares that let him learn new combat moves for the main game, and there's even some pretty darn epic boss fights on in there to boot. It's honestly legit such a stacked fucking title, going way above and beyond for a smear handheld spin-off, and as such, I fucking adored this game. Every area a beautiful treat to explore, and for real very fun to play on a core level. I'm super glad I finally got to experience this one after wanting to for my whole damn life, and pretty gosh darn validating for it to hit as hard as I had hoped to, too. Especially synergistic is the fact that I finally got the word that my housing woes that I've been struggling with for the past 2 years now will finally be dragged out of torturous uncertainty. And given that I dreamt about this game from a literal child jail cell having what finally was my eventual playthrough of it happen during such a home-related dub is pretty fucking amazing. Like, goddamn, it really do be, as I said near the start. These handheld games, they come with you in these experiences. And I, for one, was very glad to have DAXTER here for this one. You fucking misogyny rodent. Like, for real, this little motherfucker is all like, hey, toots, I got a big dick.